lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am reading for Whitney Houston. This is a very big and major reading for me. This is a really big deal. Whitney Houston is my Beyonce. You know how a lot of people think Beyonce is a queen, a goddess, an idol. That is how I feel about Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston's Greatest Hits was the first CD I ever bought with my own money. I went into the shop and I picked it up, and I used to listen to that CD on repeat and just sing, and I absolutely love her. Her music just transcends me, it moves me, it makes me feel so emotional. I feel very emotional to do this reading. This has been one that's been on my list since the very first day that I started this channel, and you know, just bringing her energy in beforehand, she's excitable and happy to talk, so I'm really excited to do this. So thank you so much for watching, and let's read for Whitney Houston. So as I brought Whitney's energy in, she came in straight away very excitable and very happy, and she was presented to me in a very long white gown, okay, very relaxed, very chilled, and I could see her with one of those, it's not a cigarette, it's one of those old-fashioned thin cigarettes that, you know, the very fancy people would smoke. And I don't know what they're called, I'm not sure what they're called. I think they were very, very popular in like the 1920s, one of those very, so she was smoking. So she's gone back to who she is and doing what she wants to do. That's very clear. I asked Whitney some questions about the night of her passing, about the note that was handed to Brandy and Clive Davis. Whitney wanted to say that, you know, in the age that she was when she passed away, she was ready to just retire, okay? She was ready to stop making music and doing films, but I feel like there was a lot of financial issues, and maybe there was a bit of money owed where she couldn't just stop working, but she was just tired and she needed to, okay? And I talked to her about her relationship with Clive Davis, and she talked about how she loved and idolized her father, and he didn't really respect the relationship in the way that Whitney did. You know, he maybe mistreated her, and a lot of her relationships were based on money, and you know, he not used her, but you know, used her fame and her power rather than being her dad. And when Clive Davis came into the picture, he painted it in such a way that he was going to look after her in a way that her father maybe hadn't, okay? And she trusted him, and Whitney made it very clear. She said, like I always did, I was very trusting, I let people in very quickly, I loved people very quickly, not just in relationships but in friendships. I loved people from the moment I met them. You know, if I liked you, then I would cling to you, and that's it, you would be part of my life. And that's what happened. So she looked up to Clive as that kind of father figure, that mentor, and it went down that same kind of route where it started off well, but in the end he worked her very, very hard and very, very much. And the note that was handed to Brandy just kind of said, I'm going, I'm leaving, and that's it. So I asked her to talk to me about what happened after that, and we will put on some cards, but I just want to get all of this out there. Whitney then explained that the industry is a dark place, okay? It can be a very dark place when you get in with the wrong people. So she then went back up to the room where she has told me that there was a person in a black suit, and she has explained to me that her death was drowning, okay? It was drowning. It had nothing to do with drugs, it had nothing to do with alcohol abuse. She was drowned, and I feel very uncomfortable even talking about that. I'm not going to extend on that, but that's what I was given, and there was no fight back, okay? She's explained that the relationship with Nick and Bobby Christina had something to do with this, and that Nick was sent into their lives for purposes to destroy certain parts and elements of it, and it's all very entangled and it's all very complicated. And as much as I would like to delve into that, I don't want that to be the highlight of this reading. I really, really don't. So I just wanted to clear up some of those things that we discussed before I switched on the camera, and I'm now going to pull some cards on Whitney, her life leading up to her passing, and what she wants us to know now. So let's pull some cards on Whitney Houston. Also, I like to do this, just comment down below your favourite Whitney Houston song. I'll take those both. Comment down below your favourite Whitney Houston song. My favourite Whitney Houston song is so hard. Like, I love Exhale, I love, what else? I love It's Not Right But It's Okay, Heartbreak Hotel, I Look to You. I just think her catalogue of music is just endless, and a lot like Michael Jackson, there's a lot of Whitney for every kind of era. Whitney Houston. Okay. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston has a lot of love. I just want to say this for Bobby Brown, okay? She did say, yes, our relationship was toxic and it was turbulent at times. It wasn't like that all the time, but in passing and in spirit, I have a lot of love for that man. So, oh, okay, we've got an extra card. Right, let's see. Wow, okay. Wow. Okay, we'll start from right to left on this. Okay, so over here we have got the first two cards that flipped over. We've got the Devil and the Ace of Cups. The Devil talks about being locked in and tied to an ideal of a situation. Now, I don't think that Whitney actually wanted to be a singer. She fell into that industry, okay? It was something she fell into because she could sing. And she got in way above her head. She was in that industry very young. And from there, she didn't really develop the personal skills that was needed to actually sustain a healthy lifestyle. So she would rely heavily on people like her friend Robin, heavily on Bobby Brown. You know, she really trusted people. And I feel like that's why it's tied to the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is the love card, okay? It talks about fulfillment, commitment, love at its best possible time, okay? And I feel like what that really connects to in her energy is the fact that she loved so hard. When she connected to someone, I talked about this a minute ago, when she connected to Robin, when she connected to Bobby Brown, Clive Davis, all these people, she loved so intensely and so hard, and she gave them her all and her everything, and it was her downfall. It was really her downfall. It destroyed her. The love that she had and the love that she gave ended up being the thing that really broke her own heart. And although there was a strength in Whitney, and there really is, she was also a very vulnerable character, and that's why she clung to a lot of people. Now, the Five of Wands upright talks about diligence and a test, and it's tied to the Death card, okay? I think we all know, if you know anything about Whitney Houston, if you've seen any documentary or anything, she did not have an easy life, okay? There was a lot of self-harm. I actually feel like there was abuse for Whitney as a child, okay? I do feel like there was actually child abuse in Whitney's life. She's making me feel my arms, so I feel like there was self-harm. It's quite painful. When I feel the emotions of her childhood and her teen years, it's quite painful. It's a very painful thing, and she wants to make it clear that her life was never easy. There was always challenges. There was always things she had to go through right up until her passing. Okay, that's just the way it is. She didn't have a plain and easy sailing life, okay? Now, talking about her as a person, I think Whitney Houston is the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles is someone who obviously has a lot of money, but who is generous with their money, who's very giving, who's very loving, who's very wants to help other people. If they can help, then they will help. Someone who's extremely generous, quite wise and grounded. Someone who is always willing and wants to support and give more to others than she probably gives to herself. And And that, I think, is just Whitney's energy. You know, she wanted to give and provide for the people that she loved. And like I said, when she loved someone, she loved them so intensely. So that's really what she wanted to do. She really wanted to provide that energy for everyone. And it was the downfall of her. So I think towards the end, when she began to cut ties with like Bobby Brown, even when she ended her friendship with Robin, when she moved away from her family, towards the end of her life, she began to proceed with caution. The Page of Wands talks about cautious progress and being quite aware of things that are going on around you. There was a slight paranoia with Whitney in the sense that she then began to realise that people did not have her best interests at heart and not everyone was out to help her. Okay, now she's giving me Pat. Okay, now she's giving me Pat. She has just shown me Pat. So if you don't know who Pat is, Pat, I think, was Whitney's sister-in-law, her brother's wife, I think. There's been a lot of suspicion around Pat and the way that she came in and wanted to help and handle their money. And, you know, for both Whitney and Bobby Christina, her behaviours and her ways of being are very, very suspicious, okay? And she's, just as I started to talk about that cautious progress, she's talking about the entrance of Pat into her life. She could not be trusted. But as Whitney's saying, I loved her. So it was like I couldn't see all of these things when I was on Earth. I couldn't see all of these people who I loved so intensely but who maybe didn't love me in that way. I couldn't see that they didn't have my best interest at heart like I had theirs. And Pat Houston is definitely one of those people. Now the Six of Wands talks about triumph and reward, and it's tied to the Ten of Wands, which talks about a burden. Now I think that's quite clear. Whitney made a fantastic career. She is one of the biggest selling female artists of all time, I believe. You know, she will go down in history as an absolute musical legend. But although it was her biggest success, and you know, we have got here the Ace of Wands, which is the highest material and professional success that you can have, it was her big, see, this is I usually, as you know, only pull 8 cards. This card came out as a final card, which was a 9th card. It flipped over on its own, and that's the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is burden. All of these things were just such a burden on her, and my shoulders actually hurt. I can feel the energy of my shoulders. They just hurt, like there's so much on them that is unreal, like they're heavy. And I just feel like she carried so much for so many other people. There was never any room for herself and to give herself any love and guidance. And she was a diva and she was fabulous and absolute legend. Like, she was a complete queen. But a lot of the time she's saying that was my persona when I was in front of the camera or I was doing interviews. When I was at home alone, I felt crushed. Okay, and there's a real emphasis on that. I felt crushed and alone and low, and there was no one there. There was no one there to support me. I didn't have anyone to pick me back up. It's very sad, actually. This is very sad. Okay, is there anything else you want me to touch on there, Whitney? She's saying that Bobby Christina was the love of my life, my baby angel, the love of my life, the sunshine of my life, and she's here with me. Bobby Christina isn't coming forward, and I'm not going to try and even bring Bobby Christina's energy forward. I would like to read Bobby Christina's energy in her own reading, but she wants to make it clear that she's with her and that she's safe, and that she's saying Mummy was there. Oh. She's saying Mummy was there when she crossed over into the light and I brought her home, and she wants to make that very clear. She's saying I was there, and I was there the whole time, and she's also saying I saw everything. Okay, she's saying I saw everything. I saw everything from the beginning to the end of Bobby Christina's transition. I saw everything. Oh gosh, okay. And she's saying she really, for that period of time, she really wants to thank Bobby Brown. There is a real gratitude for Bobby Brown. Specifically, she's bringing me to specifically for keeping Nick away from the hospital. And I feel like Bobby Brown made certain extents and went to extra measures to keep people out of that hospital. she's saying he couldn't be there all the time, but she's saying Mummy was there, and she's saying a big massive thank you to Bobby Brown, because he put security measures in place to keep certain people out of that hospital room, and Whitney Houston wants to thank him deeply for that. There is a deep gratitude for the way Bobby Brown acted in Christina's passing. Christina's passing. Okay. She's just almost like shimmied, and she's saying, let's talk about me now, darling, because my life here is fabulous. She wants to lift the mood, because that was very dark, so she wants to lift that mood and say, let's talk about me now. To make it very clear that her life on the other side now is peaceful and calm. She's saying, I live a very peaceful life. When she's giving me the image of her, I see a very I don't know where Whitney Houston actually originally comes from in the States, but she's taking me down south, okay? What I know to be down south. It could be like Midwest or somewhere, but it's very country, and she wants to put me, you know, like, I only know it from films because I'm not from the States, but in films you see those movies where there's like a lot of land, and you have like a small house in it, and it's got like a porch, and it's got like a rocking chair on the porch, like very country. She wants to take me somewhere like that, somewhere just in the middle of nowhere with this porch, and she's on a rocking chair, and she's just singing and smoking, and she's free. And that is the feeling that she really wants to give me, that she's free. I'm being called to just pull 3 of these cards. That's the image that she really wanted to portray to me. And you know, she's saying I don't do a lot of, you know, some people when they pass over, they do a lot of work from the spirit world, and she's saying we all have our role. She's saying, but I don't have anything that I intensely do over here. You know, she says sometimes she's called to work with people in the industry that have substance abuse. She's saying I have been called to do that because I have troubles of my own. She's saying I'm not going to name any names of people that I have worked with spiritually. She's saying, but I have been called to work spiritually with people in the music industry that have substance abuse issues. So she's saying I don't do it a lot, and I don't work tirelessly a lot, but that is the work that if I do anything, that's the work I'm usually called to do. Okay, right, you want me to pull 3 of these. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston. That flipped over when I was shuffling these cards. Okay. Okay. Let's do this first. Step away from the crowd. So I think what that means, and that card flipped over when I initially shuffled the cards for Whitney Houston. She wanted, I said this already, that note that she gave to Brandy and Clive Davis, she wanted to walk away. And I think that's why she's really emphasising that image of her on that porch in the middle of nowhere, because that's where she wanted to be. She didn't want to be bothered. She didn't want to be harassed. She wanted to go somewhere where she could just live a calm and country-filled life, and no one would even bother her or bat her an eyelid that she was around. And she did. She wanted to step away from the crowd. Whitney's really emphasising on this give more. I feel like that's something she wants to share with people, her message from the other side. She's saying when I was alive, even if I didn't have much, which I did, she's saying I did have a lot, but even if I hadn't have had much, I would have always given to other people. And she's saying don't ever take away from giving to yourself, but don't be scared to give people more. There's a whole thing here. See, we've got you are not afraid as well. There's a whole thing here of living life through love and not through fear. There's a whole energy of that. She's saying I wish I had done things sooner. I wish I had moved sooner. I wish I had said no sooner. But there's a whole energy of, you know, hindsight being a really beautiful thing. And I know what I know now, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. That's what she's saying. Okay, her final words are, I'm so blessed and so lucky to have been able to share my gifts with you. And I thank each and every one of you who has supported me, not only in my life but in my passing. May God be with you, may Spirit be with you, may you live in peace and love and not be afraid to give more of yourself and love yourself each and every day. Amen. And that's a prayer that she's just said through me. And as I say that, as I say that to you, she is getting up now off of the rocking chair and she's walked into the house. And I think that's it. I think she's said enough that she wanted to say, and she's said her story, but she's living the life now on the other side that she had wished to have lived on earth. And her energy now, like when I told you when I first brought her energy in, she's just so happy, so excitable, so calm, and she wants to make that clear that she's not afraid anymore and she's okay. She is absolutely okay, and she's a queen. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Oh, that means everything. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching, lovelies. I will see you soon for another video. Bye.